My name is Brandon Kruse, and the company I started was DialMaxx. I started this company right outside of high school. Before DialMaxx, I was really always hungry as a kid. I wanted to start something. I wanted to get ahead of my peers. As I was growing up, I went through this kind of financial crisis as a family. My family went through this financial crisis. So around the age I was 12, I remember sitting around our kitchen table, and the repo man had just come and gotten our car. On that day, I went out and got this. I talked to one of my friend's fathers, who was a network engineer, who was into computers, and I said, what can I do? What's valuable? What can I do to make money? That's all I care about, is making money and having a career. And he said, well, at your age, getting a degree would be great, but now, since you're only 12, 13 years old, a certification might be pretty good. And I think that was a really good first lesson of work versus reward. I went through that process and I got a certification. I got a piece of paper in my hand that now enabled me to go and get a decent above minimum wage job fixing computers. Fast forward to when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, I really had this knowledge, I really had this kind of yearning to learn more about computers. So one of my friends had introduced me to a local group called the 2600. Went to the 2600 group, I asked them, need some computers, and someone said, Mark actually responded. Mark Spencer was on the group. Digium at the company had just been converted from Linux support services to a company called Digium. And he said, let's just go to lunch and talk. Just by going and taking that meeting, Mark had invested his time, and I just described the projects that I was working on, my interest in computers. And he said, you should just come and interview at Digium and we'll see if there's something for you. And he really created that opportunity for me to start as what I call the assistant to the assistant. I was basically just a coffee getter for some of the people that worked there, but eventually grew and ended up being a software developer over the course of a couple of years. Lots of people invested into me, and I went to my manager. I said, I have this crazy idea. I want to leave and start a long distance business because Digium is not doing long distance for any of our customers. They're just selling phone systems. And he said, long distance is a dying business, but you're a young kid, go off. He talked to Mark, and David Deaton and Mark came back to me and said, go off, start your company. If it doesn't work out, come back. So I went and started my company, DialMaxx. We had a couple core customers we were selling long distance to, but one of my passions was trying to sell kind of a hybrid. It was a call center software that basically handled a whole bunch of inbound calls and would route them to the right agents based on who was available and all this kind of cool stuff. But the biggest thing at the time was that it was hosted, so it did not exist on site. It was all in the cloud, which was a pretty big deal back in the day. I started DialMaxx in 2008 in my parents' basement, where we actually never moved out of, even when we were acquired. DialMaxx, from Digium, I basically subscribed to the philosophy that my dad said, which was find the need and fill it. But in the beginning, it was truly a let's just fake it until we make it kind of thing. We talked to a lot of customers and sounded very stupid to a lot of people, and eventually we're able to get to the point to where we're able to sell a couple of customers. So DialMaxx was growing in my basement like crazy. Learned a lot about management, mainly that I'm really bad at it. Digium always had these product managers and people above me, or my manager's manager, that never made any sense, because I was always like, these people can't program. Why are they where they are? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I took that attitude into my company and ultimately ended up paying for that, because I realized the value of someone that can manage and motivate and direct people is not easy. But DialMaxx continued to grow. We had 12 people, and in 2010, we thought a customer had called in, Dan Borzlow from Adichak, and said, I really want to talk to you guys about what you guys are up to. Said, I read this thing about how you guys are routing calls, and he's like, I want to talk to you guys. So I called him. I give him the long distance pitch, right? We're doing this better than anybody else. I think we have a lot of sharp talent here, and we have low overhead, so we can be competitive and all that kind of stuff. And he said, okay, cool. I'll call you back in an hour with a proposal. And I was like, okay. Usually I would go back, start hacking up and send over a proposal to my new customer. Little did I know he was sending us a term sheet to acquire the company. We had this kind of culture that I was able to develop accidentally that has been really hard to produce since then, which is everybody's really hustling for this one goal. And being acquired wasn't in our mind. That wasn't what we were building for. We were building to build something. We were building because our customers loved our product, and that's what really drove us. And November 10th in 2010, we ended up closing and selling to Magic Jack for millions of bucks. And it was an awesome thing. We were able to pay back some investors. Employees got some cash. We kind of pseudo moved down to West Palm Beach for a couple years. And just to get to this point, which I think is really important, I started my next company, financial services. And I was so excited. I'm going to throw money at this thing. We're going to hire some people. Now I get to have money, and I don't have to work as hard because I have money now and I can just spend it to make this thing go. And it was a very rude awakening to see how that not only didn't help me, but actually hurt me. Because now I wasn't the one trying to lead anymore. I didn't have that desperation. I didn't have that focus because I thought I could just throw money at it and it would work. And so many people will tell you this, that after an acquisition or a string of luck or something like that, business owners feel like they have the Midas touch. Anything they turns to gold. Anything they touch turns to gold. And ours was the opposite. I turned and it set on fire and blew up. And a lot of money went down the drain with it. Ultimately said, you know what, this is crap. I'm going to invest in myself and continue to do what I've been doing. Why should I, mix it up and do something from the scratch? And so I had this idea saying, I want to start this school where I could bring in entrepreneurs, not necessarily an incubator, bring in entrepreneurs into a space that is cost effective, first of all. And the second thing is being able to provide the building blocks of saying, here's all the things I ran into that were issues and big problems that I had to overcome. None of them had to do with telecom, right? I didn't have any really telecom related problems. We had great telecom people. I just had nobody else. So interoffice politics, and people say that. I know there's entrepreneurs out there saying, I'm selling my product, I'm barely making it, and you're talking about interoffice politics with your staff. But seriously, when we had 3 people, of which one was working for full equity and the other one was working for peanuts, there were conflict, when there was even a conflict when 2 of the guys started dating the same girl, right? So I wanted to be able to say, here's these kind of rules that I've overcome. Here's the CRM that we use. Here's the email platform that we use. Here's the sales system that we use. Here's the support system that we use. And by the way, these are all free, right? They don't cost anything. We're subsidizing the cost of them. And if you're in any kind of service business at all, B2C, business to consumer, or business to business, this toolkit works really well. And the final thing is the mentor network. So those 3 things I think are immensely important. If I could look at what was really pivotal in my company that I want to try to do for other entrepreneurs, which I think is a big need in Huntsville. We named the school HuntsvilleWest. It was the old West Huntsville Elementary that we're now turning into this kind of roadmap for entrepreneurs that are going to get to that next level that we really want to help. Me personally, you can reach me on Facebook, Brandon Kruse, twitter.com/Kruse, Kruz, and then Brandon Kruse on LinkedIn. And I am happy to dive into something and see if there's a place where I may be able to add value to what you're doing.